I'm Sam,
And this is Gabe.
and this is Coaster Wars.
Alright, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Coaster Wars podcast, where today we have a very, very special episode. Would you like to do the honors, Sam?
I would love to. I do want to point out, in case you haven't noticed, real quick at the beginning here, I am sick, so I do apologize if I sound funky. It is me, not you. You're good. But our episode today is our first ever suggestions episode. We got a suggestion from Vicky. She sent us an email. And she sent us a couple different suggestions, and me and Gabe ended up choosing best first drop. And we have picked two very different coasters and two very different best drops, which I do think is interesting because me and Gabe do talk about how we're kind of a first drop purist, and mine is definitely not a traditional first drop. So this is going to be fun.
Well, obviously, for those of you who probably don't know, we don't talk about this too much. I'm actually the one that does all of the scheduling and a lot of the ideas for these roller coaster episodes. In fact, so far this season, Sam has not helped me at all. Thanks. But
You're welcome.
it kind of just works out that way that, I can kind of come up with some of these ideas. But so when we got this suggestion episode and I saw best first drop in there, I was like, okay, well, I'm going to put mine in right away. And then, so Sam can't take it. So.
Because I totally would have.
Yes.
Absolutely. I suppose with that, you want to introduce our fighters?
Yes, let's do that. In the red corner, standing at a max drop height of 208 feet and reaching a top speed of 73 miles per hour, hailing from the farm fields of Illinois and the B&M Gym, it is Raging Bull. In the blue corner, standing at a max height of 220 feet and reaching a top speed of 75 miles per hour, hailing from the hills of Pennsylvania and the SNS Gym, it is Steel Curtain. Let the fight begin.
So, as you heard, the coaster that I'm bringing this week is Steel Curtain, which this is also kind of just a way to shoehorn it in and talk about it, because this is another surprising coaster of 2025, but also an amazing coaster of 2025, and it's got a very unique first drop.
Yes. I am bringing Raging Bull, the classic, one of the original hyper coasters at Great America. This coaster, obviously we've mentioned several times on this podcast. We have done a battles episode on this roller coaster. We've actually done two of them, I looked. So because this coaster was in my top 15 and it was in your top 15, but they were in two different spots.
Okay.
So when we did our original first 15 episodes that you don't listen to them. They're bad. They're terrible. We're not that great back then.
Don't do it. Yeah.
We actually did do two battle episodes on this coaster. However, one of the things that we talk about this is the first drop on the roller coaster. And I have touted Raging Bull as one of the best first drops I've ever experienced. And that includes a long list of coasters. Obviously, you have coasters like Iron Gwazi and Steel Vengeance, sorry. Then you have coasters like Fury 325 and Orion and Millennium. You got coasters like Leviathan and Orion. All of the hypers traditionally do have very good first drops. I say the one that comes closest to Raging Bull would probably be Diamondback.
I agree with that.
Obviously, then you have Steel Curtain. There are a few Woodies here and there that do have some very good first drops, but they're just smaller. Most Woodies are just smaller. So traditionally speaking, some of the better first drops are the coasters over 200 feet. You also got coasters like Behemoth and Nitro that we could have put in here.
I could also think of Cannibal with its Beyond Vertical.
Absolutely. Another coaster that stands over 200 feet. But when we decided to do this episode, Raging Bull obviously stuck out for me and you just because we've always talked about this as being the best first drop. It's funny when you talk about Great America because Great America is truly like the park of first drops. So
Mm-hmm.
you have Raging Bull and Goliath, which are the two that you think of right away. Goliath's first drop is really, really good too, mostly because that coaster's drop is like 30 feet taller than the actual height of the coaster.
Yeah.
So it's a little deceiving. Then you have American Eagle, which is about as traditional of a first drop as you can get. But those roller coaster trains are so long
Oh,
that in the
ridiculously
back
long.
row, you do get some really, really good airtime. Then you have a coaster like Viper. Now,
Yep.
Viper, very underrated ride, really good Woody. Once again, in the back row, that first drop is really good. And it has a little bit of a twist to it. It's not a
Mm-hmm.
quite straight first drop. And then to top it all off, they added Wrath of Rashashka, or as we like to call it, the
The
Rack,
rack.
which has a beyond vertical drop, which is also really, really good. Obviously, it's not Raging Bull levels of good just because of the very short trains, but it is still a very good first drop.
Yeah, it usually is a showcase of a dive coaster anyways. Is the first drop is usually a standout moment on those rides.
Oh, absolutely. And then when we decided to do this episode, Sam actually has struggled to figure out what coaster we picked, and I suggested to her to do Steel Curtain, which is the complete opposite of a traditional first drop. Obviously, it
Yes.
has the Dragonfire dive loop, as it is called. So it actually
Yeah.
starts out as an inversion, which is very unique. However, Steel Curtain is a very, very well-rounded coaster from start to finish, and that drop is very good. When I was
Yes.
actually doing like a little bit of background on these two coasters before we decided to do this episode, I was very surprised about how I remembered this ride, and I'm like, this is actually going to be like a battle, like 100%, especially if you consider the whole both roller coasters as a whole.
Oh, yeah.
So,
Yes. Okay. Which one do we want to get into first, Gabe?
you know what? Let's start with the traditional.
Okay.
So we'll start with Raging Bull, and then we'll move on to the very non-traditional first
Okay.
drop.
Okay.
So Raging Bull, built in 1999, is technically speaking the second of the B&M Hypers, only because the coaster Apollo's Chariot at Busch Gardens Williamsburg opened like 2 months before this one.
Yep.
Realistically, they opened the same year, so I always say they're both the first, but obviously Apollo's Chariot gets that because it's out down in Virginia and
Yep.
not in Illinois, where our roller coaster season's a little shorter. So, but that being said, this roller coaster features almost 5,000 feet of track, or just over 5,000 feet of track. I'm sorry. And so this is a very long, very good roller coaster. Top speed is 73 miles per hour. So the reason I said top drop height in the introduction is because the max height of the roller coaster is actually only 202 feet, but the drop is 208. So the other little nugget about this roller coaster is this roller coaster is the only B&M Hyper to feature 9 rows.
The magic ninth
Yes.
row.
So obviously you have coasters like Diamondback's a good example where they did like the staggered seating, and that makes the trains a little bit longer too. But this is actually the longest train in the B&M catalog for the hyper style roller coasters.
Oh, dang.
And that makes a huge, huge difference. When you get into that very back row on this roller coaster, it is elite airtime on that
Yes.
first drop. It truly
Yes.
is.
Yeah, with Raging Bull, it just so of course the first drop is amazing, and that then like Gabe said, that ninth row is like the cherry on top that makes because I feel like it probably would be decent even without the ninth row. The ninth row is just what makes it puts it on top. But then the other thing we talk about with Raging Bull is that the entire ride experience is really good. And that ninth row also helps with other airtime moments on the ride because you get yanked over those airtime hills. But then this ride also has G moments to make it a really well-rounded roller coaster experience that starts with an amazing drop.
Yeah, Raging Bull has is probably one of the more unique hyper coasters out there. I think that's another reason why we really love this roller coaster, is because traditionally a lot of the hyper coasters out there really focus on that airtime aspect, and they're either an out and back layout or a L-shaped layout, or they're very, very like narrow, long layouts depending on where they're located in their respective amusement park. Even a Fury is, an L-shaped layout. Like it kind of goes
Mhm.
out, it turns, then it turnarounds, and it comes back. Where Raging Bull is kind of all over the place. They had a very unique shaped area. It's a very wide area, but not a very long, deep area. So this roller coaster features a lot of turning. It has a lot of twisted, really snappy transitions. I
Mhm.
almost compare this to, I don't want to go as far as that, but I almost compare this to as like a giant Maverick. It's a good way,
Ah.
just because it has kind of that snappy transition effect in a few of its elements, especially at the very end of the roller coaster when it stays low to
Yeah.
the ground.
Mhm.
And like obviously it's not nearly as intense as a Maverick because at the end of the day it is a B&M Hyper, not a Intamin Blitz coaster.
Yeah.
But it kind of has that same kind of feeling or emotion behind it, and it does make it have a very unique feeling over some of the other B&M hypers that feel a little more cookie cutter and like copy and paste from one coaster to the next. And
Yeah.
the other thing is this coaster has some weird profiling. You could tell it's an early B&M because there's just some moments where you're like, yeah, that's kind of strange, but that's what makes it so good. Is it kind of has those
Mhm.
moments where you're like, that's not a normal B&M. Like,
Yeah.
you could definitely tell it's one of their earlier ones. Should I get into the layout real quick, and then we can kind of
Yeah.
talk about this a little more?
Yeah.
All right. So Raging Bull. Let me find my little. Okay. So Raging Bull starts with a small drop out of the station and into a 180-degree turn to the left, and that sends you into the 202-foot tall lift hill. So after you climb that lift hill, you get to the top and you have what's called a small pre-drop, which most of the early B&Ms feature. Now, I do believe this helps its first drop, but the biggest difference is obviously that ninth row. The ninth row combined with the pre-drop is really what makes this roller coaster so special.
Mhm.
So that being said, after the pre-drop, you go into the main first drop. Absolutely insanely epic, just roller coaster perfection, as we like to call it here. You
Yes.
then dive into a tunnel, which gives you that top drop height of 208 feet. You then pull up into what we call a banked turn. Now, this is different than an overbank. Now, the reason I say that is because an overbank has like no airtime to it, correct?
Mhm.
Like it's all G forces, and that's mostly what this element is. But it's kind of like you're going straight up, and then you have like a little airtime pop where the roller coaster banks. So like you kind of bank, you kind of like pop up, then bank. So
Uh-huh.
then it's a banked 180-degree turn, and then you have a small airtime pop as you're heading back towards the ground.
It's almost
After
like
the
the transitions itself are like the little airtime pops.
yes, absolutely. It's not just a one smooth overbank. It's one
Mhm.
of those elements, like I said, where it's a little awkward, but like in a good way. It
Uh-huh.
makes it very unique. After that, you pop up into one of the traditional airtime hills on this roller coaster. It is the biggest, and it is almost as tall as that first overbank turn. This is really close to Diamondback's 5-second airtime hill. Just
Mm.
sustained airtime in the back row. It's so good. After that, you dive all the way back towards the ground and then pop up into the second kind of interesting element. This is about as close as to a wave turn as you can get without it actually being a wave turn. In fact, I would say this was almost B&M's wave turn because as you're ascending up into the air, you do bank to the left and then you turn to the left in a wave turn esque moment, but you do also get some airtime in there.
Mhm.
And because of that, I would say this is like 80% a wave turn. It's kind of like not quite. I don't know how to explain it, honestly.
Yeah.
It's just another very unique element on Raging Bull. But basically, what this element does is it turns you to the left to head into the first or to the second, like overbank style turnaround.
Mhm.
But it is a very good airtime moment, especially as you're heading back towards the ground. So then you pop up into the 180-degree bank turnaround, which is a lot closer to an overbank than the last one, like a traditional overbank, because there's not really any airtime in this one. That being said, you dive back towards the ground and you pull up into a banked turn to the right, which sends you into the mid-course brake run.
Brakes are
You do
dumb.
get you do get a little snap transition as you're heading into that element, but the best moment is actually when you drop off
Mm,
of that mid-course brake run, because it is one
yes.
of the best airtime moments, especially in the back row on the roller coaster. After that, you pop up into another traditional airtime hill, which is also a very good airtime moment. And then you pop up into an ascending banked turn to the right. This is a full 100 and it's almost 270 degrees. And then at the top of the element, you actually level out with your banking and you have an airtime moment heading back towards the ground. So you have that G-force in the turns, and then at the end of the element, it levels out its banking, and then it turns into basically an airtime hill. After that, you dive back towards the ground, which sends you into a banked turn to the right, or I'm sorry, to the left, which is a very good G-force moment. And then you come out of that and you immediately bank back to the right, which sends you into an ascending helix, which then at the very top once again levels out and gives you another dose of airtime. That transition moment where when you're banking to the left and then you bank to the right is what I would consider like one of those Maverick-esque moments, because
Mm-hmm.
the transition's very fast-paced. You then have one more 180-degree banked turn to the left, which then pops you up into the final brakes. So it is a
Uh-huh.
very simple layout, but most hypers are. So
Yeah. It does a really good job of mixing in G forces with the airtime pops. And then, like you said, those little transitions that almost act like airtime themselves just give this a really well rounded, unique experience. And all of it's really intense, too. I
yes.
think about Candemonium. And Candemonium, first of all, is really airtime focused, and then none of it is really intense. And that's what me and Gabe
No.
like in a roller coasters. We like a pretty intense ride. And then another thing with Raging Bull is it's one of the only B&Ms to just incorporate that much G-force in general. So
Especially on
it's
the hyper side of things. Now, obviously,
yeah.
coasters like Nitro or Behemoth, even Diamondback have a couple. Well, Diamondback really doesn't actually. Now that I think about it, but they have like a small dose of really good G forces in a moment. But this roller coaster really levels it out or throws it out throughout the entire layout. The
Mhm.
coaster I'm actually going to compare this to is Talon. Now, obviously, Talon is an invert. It's,
Yeah.
very G-force focused. But the one thing I talked about with Talon is that yo-yo effect. That like you're in your seat, then you're out of it, then you're in your seat, then you're out of it. And Raging Bull really does that to you. It has those moments of like straight up floater sustained airtime, and then it just throws you back into your seat and you're just shoved into it. And then you have another moment of really good floater airtime, and then all of a sudden you're thrown and shoved back into your seat. It really gives you that yo-yo effect that I really, really love about a coaster that's really well balanced. And I think that's something Raging Bull doesn't get as much appreciation for. And then obviously that first drop, I'm sorry, there's nothing else like that first drop. There's just something very special about it, something very different from like all of the other B&M hypers that makes it just so much more elite. Like, cause like, here's the thing, like if you take away Raging Bull, obviously we like our hyper coasters, but like I would have picked an Iron Gwazi or a Steel
Mhm.
Vengeance or, a really, really forceful or even an Iron Rattler. Another
Yeah.
very, very good first drop. But because Raging Bull's drop is that much better than all of the other hypers out there, this is why I think it's, honestly, I still say this to this day. It is the best first drop I've experienced.
Mhm.
Honestly, 100%. And I don't think that's an understatement. And there's just something like, I know we talk about the ninth row, we talk about the pre-drop and blah 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 blah. There's just something else, and I can't figure it out for the life of me. What makes that drop so pure, just pure
Uh-huh.
roller coaster gold. I don't know. That's the only way I can explain it. It is just such a great moment that really makes this coaster stand out for me. And to this day, Raging Bull still sits in my top 15. Like,
Mm-hmm.
it's just a really, really good roller coaster. Obviously, we're biased. We're Great America home park
Yep.
people. So
Yeah.
take that with a grain of salt here. But at the end of the day, I still think this roller coaster really stands out in the hyper lineup, and I still think it's the best hyper I've been on. So,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I agree
B&M
with you.
hyper.
Yeah. Right.
So,
I
there's always
suppose.
Magnum.
Yeah.
That's my. Actually, I think I have Raging Bull over Magnum now.
I don't remember.
No, I don't. Let's look quick. I have it up. Let's see. I have Raging Bull at 12, and I have Magnum at 15. So yes, I do actually have Raging Bull over Magnum now.
Dang.
That's the other thing too. My re-rides on it this year, it just got even better. Like, oh my god, this thing was running out of its mind. I also got to go there on like a 90-degree day, which was kind of nice, but it was just absolutely hauling.
Yes. So I was gonna tell people that I'm like, me and Gabe are a little bit biased because this is our home park and it's got a little bit of a nostalgia factor. Since it doesn't go upside down, I can very much see this being like one of the first big coasters that a kid has been on, quote unquote kid. And it's got a really nice restraint system too, so a lot of people can ride it, adults can ride it and stuff. It also has that for us. So
that's honestly a difference maker too. The B&M clamshell, best restraint in the roller coaster business.
Oh my goch, yes.
There's just a lot of really good things about this coaster, honestly.
Right.
But
that with
being
that,
said, we're 20 minutes in already, so we got to talk about Steel Curtain.
Yes. So Steel Curtain is a 2019 S&S Worldwide. It's got a length of around 4,000 feet, a height of 220 feet, a top speed of 75 miles per hour. And this guy right here is the most inversions in North America with 8 inversions. And of course, a lot of them have really funny names. So if I just list them off, like Gabe said in the intro, we have the Drake and Fire Dive Drop, which is the first inversion, or I think it might actually be the second inversion. Or is it the first inversion?
Nope, Gabe? the dive drop's the first inversion.
Okay. And then you have a banana roll, a sea serpent, a dive loop, a 0G stall, a corkscrew, and a cutback. I love the banana roll. That's just fun to say.
Yes. So a little interesting tidbit. This roller coaster technically features 9 inversions.
Oh, it does?
Yes.
Okay.
So this is a we're arguing semantics. Basically, the banana roll is essentially a very compact version of a Cobra roll.
Oh.
And RCDB, if you scroll down, it does say it. Oh yeah. So when you click on the banana roll page on RCDB, the RCDB defines the banana roll as a single inversion Cobra roll. So a Cobra roll has always been considered 2 inversions. Where the banana roll, it says the difference between being how much uninversion occurs at the midpoint. The following logic attempts to explain this and applies it to other versions such as the double inverting stall and the max dive loop. The magic number RCDB uses to determine the roll or bank becomes an inversion is at 135 degrees, which comes from 90 plus 45, the halfway point between on your side and being fully inverted. With multiple inversions such as the Cobra roll, there needs to be a point where the element ends and the next begins. The inversion of the prior rule is used for this purpose. This means the second inversion cannot begin until the prior has dropped back down below 45 degrees. The Cobra roll does, while the banana roll doesn't. So again, we're arguing semantics. I still count it as 2 inversions. Obviously, S&S Worldwide advertised this coaster with 9 inversions. However,
I didn't know that.
Yes. So on RCDB, it will say this roller coaster only has 8, and that's because the banana roll they only count as 1, where that's technically 2.
Okay.
I mean, if you look at the element, you can definitely tell it's not a full-size Cobra roll. Like, you can definitely tell it's way more smaller and compact.
Yeah.
But I'm going to tell you right now, when you ride this roller coaster, it feels like 2 inversions, and it's a very intense moment. So,
yeah.
like,
that's the thing about this ride is they had a very small footprint that they fit this gosh darn thing in, and the fact that they squeezed in 8 inversions at all is kind of astounding with this roller coaster.
So, but I will say this roller coaster is 9. I don't know. Like I said, I feel like they're arguing semantics at that point. But
all right,
like let's give it to them. They broke the record by 1. Might as well give them a second one. Come on. Like, come
Right.
on.
Right. Yeah.
That being said, do you want to get into this layout real quick? Otherwise, we're
Yes.
definitely going to run out of time.
So you are pulled directly up into the lift hill right out of the station where you drop off into a small little pre-drop section before you are flipped slightly beyond 360 degrees. It's really weird cuz you're like flipped all the way around to like I'm trying to think of like you're like sitting at maybe 7 on a clock, like you flipped all the way around to be at 7 and then you flip back up so that you're at 12 and then you go down this dive drop. And I think that's one of the reasons why the drop is so good on here is because some of these inverted drops, they the twisting motion takes up half of the drop, so you don't get a really great amount of floater. With this one, it immediately flips you upside down, and then you're basically diving straight towards the ground. So you get
Yeah.
really great floater airtime on
It's
this
a
drop.
very unique moment because you spend a good portion of the drop vertical, like heading towards the
Yes.
ground. Like you
Yes.
said, the inversion's at the top. I think the actual drop height is like 197 feet
Yeah.
after the inversion or something like that. So you're still really, really high in the air even after the inversion. And it's just a very unique because you're upside down. It's like hang time, which
Yup.
then sends you into the airtime moment. So you're never really in your seat for any part of this drop at all until you hit the bottom.
No. Yeah. And then because it is 190 feet, you really hit the bottom.
Yeah,
So,
you're flying
yes.
75 miles per hour. So,
That's the thing with this ride too, before I get into the rest of the layout, is a lot of the inversions are really high up, but anything else is really close to the ground, so it carries its speed very well.
oh,
So
absolutely.
after that dive for the ground, you very slowly, not slowly, after the dive to the ground, you have a slight left before entering the banana roll. So basically, the banana roll, I have descriptions, and Gabe can help me explain this too. I said basically it starts out like a vertical loop, and at the top, you twist out of it before twisting back upside down and diving towards the ground. And like Gabe was saying, this is kind of the mini Cobra Roll moment. And you can see how I described it, how it counts as two inversions. It really
Yeah.
does.
Yeah, it's definitely basically a mini version of a Cobra roll. So,
Yes. So diving back towards the ground, you hit a speed hill for some great ejector before entering the Sea Serpent, which starts like a vertical loop, and then at the apex, it transitions into a corkscrew that then flips you right side up and then back upside down before diving back towards the ground.
which is also two inversions.
Yes. You then have a slight left as you're going into a big camelback that straightens out as you come down before sending you into the dive loop, which is basically you're brought up high, flipped upside down, and it dives towards the ground. And then you pop
It's
up.
also the turnaround element on the roller coaster.
Yes. And then you pop up into the quickest zero G stall of all time.
Yes.
It you literally like get a little blip and then you're through it. I don't even know.
Honestly, you get more airtime from the transitions than the
Yep.
actual stall part.
I was gonna say I do have a note here that basically airtime hill upside down that makes you feel like you're floating, but this one is so fast you get more whip in and out of it and not too much
Yes,
floater in between.
absolutely.
So then you go into a standard airtime hill that kind of acts like a double up before a corkscrew. And corkscrew, if anybody is like knows nothing about roller coasters, basically you pop up and over the air. Oh, I'm explaining why I think this is double up too. Basically, you pop up and over the airtime hill, but you don't come like all the way back down. You like pop up, come down a little bit to get airtime, but then you go up again and then you do the corkscrew and it dives back to the ground, which leads into a very, very close to the ground banked right turn into a super quick cutback into a tiny left turn before popping up into those final breaks. This thing is so fast paced. And besides the zero G stall though, you feel every single inversion. And this thing made my top 15. I actually really, really liked this coaster. I do appreciate too. This is just I'm the theming queen. So I'm a Packers fan, so I'm not really a fan of the fact that it's themed after the 1970s defensive line of the Pittsburgh Steelers, but it is in Kennywood, which is in Pittsburgh, so I'll let it slide. But when you're in the station and then as you're going up the lift hill, it's playing some 80s rock song. Gabe, do you remember what it was? I'm
Oh,
spacing.
I don't remember, but it was a very good song.
Yeah,
Yes.
me and Gabe are 80s rocks fans, hair bands, radio, and all that such. So it was just kind of fun to be going up the lift hill and being able to listen to music. And it was a
Well,
song we happened to like.
for what you could hear, this lift hill
Yeah,
has got to be the loudest lift hill on the planet. It is insanely loud. I don't know what they
actually.
did, but it is crazy.
Yeah.
Um, my biggest thing about this roller coaster is the pacing. The pacing's absolutely out of control because these elements, obviously, to fit 9 inversions on 4,000 feet of track, RCDBs has it exactly at 4,000, and that makes me happy. I don't know why. What if
That's
it
funny.
actually is exactly 4,000 feet? That would be so cool.
It would be really cool.
Anyway, sorry, sidetracked. Ooh, shiny moment. Anyway,
Yeah.
um, this roller coaster is just a very rapid pace in your face. But the thing is everything feels different. Like you said, the Cobra Roll is a elongated element, but at the top of the element, it's like elongated, boom, 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 elongated. The Sea Serpent Roll, very good hang time moment, just really drawn out. Like that is a lot slower paced element, and then you go into the airtime moments, and then you're out of your seat, and then you hit the dive loop, which is just super super whippy, especially in the back row. The zero G stall is another element that's just crazy whippy. It's just this is a very whippy coaster. It just kind of
Uh-huh.
throws you in every little direction very, very fast. And it just makes it so good. But the one thing I want to talk about is the rewritability on this roller coaster.
Yes. I was just going to mention that it's super comfortable.
Yes, it is a very intense roller coaster, but because of its very diverse element package and the airtime and positive G's that this roller coaster throws you in, it is very, very comfortable and it is very rewritable. We sat on this coaster at the end of the day for what, 3 or 4 different
Yeah.
laps on this ride, and we got
Small.
off of it and we could have rode it another 3 or 4 times,
Oh
honestly.
yeah. I was going to say small note here, when we went to Kennywood, it like literally poured for the first 30 minutes that we
Oh,
were there.
yeah.
So first of all, we didn't even think anything was going to open, and then on top of that, it was so empty in that place.
Yes,
I think at one
yes.
point we rode Phantom's Revenge and we were the only ones on the train.
Yeah, that did happen. And we were sitting on that one too. We literally did
Yep.
not get off of it for like 3 or 4 laps or something like
Yep.
that until they finally kicked us off. Like,
Yeah.
that being said, this roller coaster is just really, really good, honestly. This is a
Yes.
very, very, very good roller coaster. I did not put it in my top 15. And the
No.
only reason is because my top 15 has a couple more coasters than Sam's does. And
Yep.
it just couldn't fit. I couldn't find a spot. It was very, very close. Don't get me wrong.
I was
So
going to
was
say.
Phantom's Revenge, honestly. Like that was another really good roller coaster.
Mhm.
But it is a very good roller coaster, and like I said, depending on your how you like your roller coasters or whatever, Steel Curtain. The cool thing about these two roller coasters is like Raging Bull is a compact layout for a hyper, and then
Yeah.
Steel Curtain was like hold my beer.
Yeah.
Like I get like they're like they took the Raging Bull concept and said we could cut that in like a third and
Oh
still
yeah.
get a really really good 200-foot tall roller coaster. S&S did a really fantastic job on this ride. I think
Mhm.
this is another underrated roller coaster. Obviously, it was closed for like a year. I think
Yep.
or 2 years
So,
actually. It was
hold
closed
on.
for 2 years.
The issues that I have is the ride originally opened in 2019 and it operated for a couple years before they found that the forces created by the ride needed additional supports. So the ride reopened just this year. So it must have operated from like 2019 to maybe 2023 and then it was closed. And so that was the other thing I was going to mention. Is this another one I could have slotted in for most surprising roller coaster because Gabe didn't know it was going to be open when we went there. We went to Kennywood basically for Phantom's Revenge. And I mean, like the Woodies are really cool and they're over 100 years old and stuff, but we didn't
It
know we
was
were going to
really
get on this.
for me it was Phantom's Revenge. Phantom's Revenge was a coaster that had been on my bucket list for a very very long time. It's one of the first roller coasters that I discovered as a budding roller coaster enthusiast that I just said that is so cool that they took like an Aero Mega Looper and turned it into essentially a second hyper coaster. Obviously, it's the second drop, not the first, but just the
Uh-huh.
layout on the side of the hill, and it's a terrain coaster, and the airtime at the end is insane, which it is. And I honestly, going into this, was like, even if Steel Curtain's open, I think I'm gonna like Phantom's Revenge more. Boy, was
Mhm.
I wrong. That's how good this. Okay, Kennywood, absolutely insanely stacked lineup. Let's just say that, like,
Yes.
just a crazy, crazy good lineup, even with all of their 100-year-old coasters, plus Steel Curtain, plus Phantom's Revenge, plus the first Skyrocket too, which was actually kind of good. It was okay.
Yeah.
It was very unique. It was a very unique roller coaster.
Yes.
We'll leave that. We'll have to speak about it another time.
Yes.
But that being said, Steel Curtain really stole the show at Kennywood, and it just absolutely, really insanely good roller coaster, honestly.
Yep. So with that, Gabe, we have to pick our winners.
Okay. Are we doing this based off the drop or the entire roller coaster?
Um,
Let's do the entire roller coaster.
I was gonna say because even if we have an episode about a certain thing, we usually do it on the entire roller coaster experience.
Yes. Yes. You go first. I'm curious.
Uh, I'm gonna go with Raging Bull. Raging Bull is higher on my top 15. So, and it's hard because they're both really good roller coasters, but I think it's probably the nostalgia factor. And we'll get into this with my top 15. A lot of the roller coasters you could argue are better than other ones because we've ridden so many top class roller coasters nowadays. So, in my head, so I could sort them because I didn't know how else to sort them, I just went, if I had to choose a roller coaster to ride 100 times in a row, which one would I pick? And I would pick Raging Bull. So,
Yeah. I'm also going to go with Raging Bull on this one. I'm going to agree with you. I would like to say these coasters are very, very, very close. And
yeah.
honestly, the only two things that put Raging Bull over a Steel Curtain, number one is the nostalgia factor. Obviously, it's a coaster we hold very, very close to our hearts. Me and you do. We have lots and lots of memories. We've ridden that roller coaster for years, and every year it just seems to get better and better. Like, it's not a coaster that you get sick of ever.
No.
That being said, the drop, honestly, Raging
Mhm.
Bull has the best first drop on the planet, and I'm going to pick that every time. I am. I'm sorry. It's just a fact of life. Like, there's very few coasters that I would hold over Raging Bull. Obviously, it's also in my top 15. Steel Curtain just outside my top 15. Let's be clear on that. It is very close. That being said, these are two very different roller coasters in a lot of ways. So I think it just comes down to Raging Bull is something me and you prefer.
Yep.
Like, there's a lot of conversations where you could say Steel Curtain's better, but we just prefer Raging Bull here.
Yeah. Yeah. So with that, I'm gonna get into our schedule a little bit. Our next episode is going to be a special episode on mine and Gabe's new top 15s. Me and him have both ridden over 100 new coasters this season, which is actually insane. So of course, our top 15s look very different. And then on top of that, we did our top 15s literally like 3 years ago when we started the
Oh yeah, that's
podcast.
true.
So I think it's time for an update. And basically, what we're going to do in this special episode is I'm going to do a rundown of my top 15. Gabe's going to do a rundown of his top 15. And then we're just basically going to not quiz each other. We're going to interrogate each other on why we put a coaster where we put it or why
Who
we
knows?
included one.
By the end of the episode, they might change. You never know.
Exactly. So after that episode, though, we do have two battles episodes. Our first one is going to be second best ride in the park. And the idea in this one is that there are a lot of parks that the second best roller coaster is still a really, really good roller coaster. And it would be one of those things where if you took it out of that park and put it in a different park, it might potentially be a number one. And then the episode after that, we're going to do coasters that have moved up in the rankings for 2025. So that's going to be a fun one. We have some
Yes.
interesting episodes coming up.
The very next special episode, also very, very good. 100-year-old coasters episode. We're going to take a roller
Yeah.
coaster episode and talk specifically about 100-year-old roller coasters. We're definitely going to have to see. We'll have to figure out like how many we've ridden, and then I think we'll have to talk about some we haven't ridden to make that a full special. But that'll be a
Okay.
very fun episode to talk about, like, just some old ass roller coasters, honestly. Like,
Yeah, and if you're like Gabe and really into roller coaster
oh,
history, it'll
absolutely.
be any history buffs out there, that's going to be your episode. So,
Yes, yes.
with that, everybody, as always, you can reach out to us on any of our socials or send us an email at our email coasterwarspodcast@gmail.com. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you all next week.
And I hope you all have a great day.